Back in March, we ticked off one of our dream destinations from our bucket list, Madeira, the evergreen island situated just north of the Canary Islands, which fascinates almost everyone keen to travel, nature or hiking. We wanted to explore the entire island, dip into some cultural and heritage, but focus on hiking trails and experience the European Hawaii our friends and colleagues rave about. The only thing that could not be arranged for was perfect weather conditions. By the way, for those interested in the exact locations we traveled to or the hiking trails we did, I will leave a link in the description of this video. Keep in mind, during this time of year, the weather should oftentimes be stable and reaching approximately 15 to 20 degrees Celsius, yet all the weather channels reported snow in vast areas of Morocco during our visit of the island. Of course, we would face heavy rains for an extended period of time, as well as snow and ice at chilling 4 degrees Celsius on Pico, Ruivo and Pico de Areeiro. But let's rewind our journey chronologically. Like for almost every trip, we packed light, which means I only took my trusty Leica Q2 with me to capture memories. If you made it so far watching this video, you will be the judge if you enjoyed those pictures taken, plus the information I will provide you with over the next few frames. Fortunately, this video has been made possible by DJI, or let's say by my wife. This was a trip she started picking up the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, eventually to capture whatever caught her attention. Most of the time, it was me, freezing in awkward poses trying to compose a shot. I'm pretty sure neither her camera movements nor her composition will win any Oscars, but I love how this small and compact camera helped to gather some footage for this video. Please be gentle with me on this one, as the footage will be a wild mess of Rec 709, HLG and Log M clips. Minutes after arriving at the airport, known for spectacular landing approaches by plane, we catch what should be the last glimpses of sun rays for the rest of the day. It wasn't that bad initially, as we picked up the rental and had to go to our apartment anyway. Frankly, more than 6 flights, which were scheduled to land right before us, were redirected to the mainland or had to land on the neighboring island due to hefty winds, so we expected a lot worse circumstances but enjoyed the slow afternoon. Even though day 2 eventually started with the sun peeking through clouds, it became apparent that our excursion to the island's capital, Funchal, could have been dubbed a day at the cafe, as it would have been raining for hours. We managed to pay a visit to the artist neighborhood, checked out the marina, which I would not call picturesque, strolled through small alleys and seeked shelter in boutiques. We debated if it would be worth taking the cable car up the hill to check out the botanical garden, but ultimately came to the conclusion it being not worth it, considering how severe the bad weather had been. Instead, we drove westwards on the south coast to find the first gem on this journey, the Rota de Banana, the Banana Path. Actually, it's not even a proper hike. Instead, the route leads along some narrow streets and concrete paths through banana plantages, which are spectacular considering the size of them. While walking, you come across boxes full of bananas, which you can eat for a few cents per piece now and then. Let me tell you that their taste is so exotic, delicious and full of flavor, yet so alien to our imported bananas, which are ripened artificially, that the banana became a symbol I associate with most of Madeira now. The next day dawned, and guess what? Pouring rain and strong winds. And let me tell you that those winds were severe. We parked on the trailhead of PR16 on an unpaved parking site and waited inside the car for more than an hour, hoping that heavy clouds would clear up and the rain would stop or lower in intensity. None of that happened. What happened instead is that our car had not been in the same physical location we parked in. Those side winds were blasting against our little Renault Clio. It felt surreal. Waterfalls were promised on our hike, not on our parking lot, right above us. But it felt that way. With every gust, the car swayed and was moved 2 mere centimeters in the east direction. It was wild, spectacular, but also frightening, to be honest. Mission aborted. We ignited the engine and drove down the steep roads at a comedic, sluggish pace. Back in the valley, I cannot recommend the VR4 Highway connecting São Vicente with Ribeira Brava enough and praise the stunning road enough. Guys, this road is reason enough to undermine how majestic and breathtaking Madeira's nature really is. It's larger than life. Looking up those mountains while waterfalls pour down beside you. We spent some time exploring the east and south side of the island, hoping to catch sunsets at the well-known Cascata dos Anjos, which is a waterfall, I have to say. We managed to get a parking spot in Ponta de Sol with ease, thanks to those conditions, and tried walking to it. You may ask if the conditions got any better. Not really. Yet the rough environment made for a fantastic picture, as we were literally the only persons around. I really enjoyed the coastal road and how it winds and twists around what nature created. Time flies if you split daylight portion of the day into segments, where you would like to attempt to do something while having good light and perfect conditions. My experience taught me that waiting for great light only makes you regret all the chances, opportunities, and adventures you didn't embark on though. That's why we literally stick to our itinerary to tick off all the places we would want to see and hikes we would like to take from day 3 on. When it comes to longer hikes incorporating waterfalls, we strictly couldn't care less than avoiding the most popular ones due to the simple fact that almost all tourists were waiting for the rain to lower in intensity, which it gladly did from day 3 on. So everyone eventually went after their respective bucket list hikes. Everything turned to our favor, so it happened that we found ourselves among 9 to 12 other fellow hikers on PR16 Levada Fajã de Rodrigues. It felt unreal. We originally intended to do PR9, yet decided to hike PR16, which is Levada Fajã de Rodrigues, as a lot of people favored the jungle feeling and waterfalls here over PR9. So glad we followed suit. Along the first 3.5 kilometers, the views are amazing as you pass several smaller and bigger levadas and 2 rather short tunnels to fire up your adventurous spirits. Bring a headlamp for the dark tunnels. Knife and torch is sufficient if your eyesight is good enough though. Rain gear so you don't get soaked, and keep in mind that you may have to step into knee-deep water streams if you have to pass other hikers on those narrow passages. If the past 48 hours have been especially rainy, bear in mind that most of the trail will be muddy and slippery, but it's well worth it. Loved every bit of it. Madeira has spectacular topography. We were hyped for every hike that would follow. The alarm went off well before sunrise the next morning to catch the first rays of sun illuminating the ridges on PR8 São Lourenço. We were stoked, realizing we found ourselves a parking lot because there were more tourists than expected, and some of them already forming a knot of people all over the place. And we shortly learned why. PR8 had been closed down because of the damage the strong winds brought to the eastern tip of the island, and the valid fear their hike on the ridges could bring people in danger. We were fed up. I'm not gonna lie. This has been a bucket list hike for sure. Anyway, there's a lot more to see on the island. So my gut told me we should visit a panoramic viewpoint that's close by called Miradouro da Pedra Furada, just for the sake of witnessing the bluff shore color red on this part of the island. We were not disappointed, especially considering the timing and how congested the small road leading to the vantage point has become due to the closing of PR8. So perfect timing. Later that day, we also hiked up to a tiny church situated near Miradouro de São, which also offered delicate views to the spectacular mountain ranges of the island's soul and the vastness of the ocean. It has been itching on us for the rest of the day not being able to hike PR8 on Canical. I'm probably butchering all Portuguese words by now. The stars aligned, and even though the insane wind gusts were well alive, the trail has been cleared, and this time no official tried to hinder hikers from attempting it. That's actually something I really enjoyed, by the way. which is not too common all over Europe. The national park guides or guards are present and lock down access to hikes when certain trails are considered dangerous, could harm people easily. So kudos to those people. Without further ado, in the hopes the pictures did the trail justice, here's my summary of the hike. I advise you to come early and start before 9 AM, otherwise the trail gets crowded fast by 10 AM on a regular day. Parking is also tough. Worst case is that you have to park down the road near the church on the hill, which will set you back for approximately 35 minutes or so, because then you would have to walk the incline to the trailhead by feet. This is easily one of the most scenic hikes here on Madeira, yet it may be a taxing trail to some people due to strong winds on both of the ridges and some paths that will lead you over loose ground, slippery surfaces and wet. You don't need to scramble at all though. Prepare to bring a rain jacket, windbreaker obviously. If you just want to enjoy similar views with no effort, I would recommend checking out the viewpoint next to the roundabout from the road leading up to PR8, which I talked about before. I also encourage you to register and pay for every trail you're planning to do in advance. You can do this online easily. To be honest, I would rather be willing to pay for a weekly pass or something like that than paying a fee per trail. I only call upon doing so in the hopes that the money raised goes into nature conservation measures beyond just maintaining the trails. However, I also have to tell you that neither the infrastructure nor the condition most trails are in indicate that the raised money is spent on these things, considered how big the tourism industry is here, unfortunately. I don't want to make this issue a topic, just provide you with the information to register for each trail in advance and pay for it. By now, you should recognize a pattern. With every trail completed, our expectations also rose. Of course, avid Madeira goers and fans will know what's coming next. Pico de Areeiro and Pico Ruivo. I have to dash your expectations yet again, nevertheless. PR1 ends roughly 20 minutes into it, as the footpath connecting Pico de Torres with the rest is only accessible via PR1.2, coming from Pico Ruivo. So besides the first bit of the trail, it has been closed indefinitely, at least for the near future, and due to the harsh weather we had no interest in trespassing and attempting the trail, which turned out to be one of the best decisions in our life, because literally the day after we had departed from Madeira, a German tourist sadly died on this exact stage on the original PR1. This left us facing with a decision to be made, and we only had one chance to either see a sunrise or sunset, either on the first kilometer of trail that is open to the public on Pico Areeiro, or to do the entire trail to Pico Ruivo, which is PR1.2 Vereda do Pico Ruivo. It would make no sense spending so much time in the car just to be able to walk a few hundred meters only for a pretty picture or selfie, which is why we opted to head to Pico Ruivo on the late afternoon. We concluded, while most tourists would like to see the sunrise, resulting in overcrowded parking lots, it was refreshing to be arriving just an hour before sunset on an almost empty parking space. Of course, the narrow serpentine road down in the valley already brought in light rain, whereas Kending mist joined in, fueling the excitement of what conditions would be present on the trailhead. Driving up the steep road really felt like leading to the grand finale. Remember when I told you about how we exchanged sun lotion with rain gear in the beginning? Gladly, I also urge Liz to pack a fleece and synthetic down jacket just in case. You never know. But we surely knew when the thermometers read 4 degrees Celsius. It wasn't pretty, and it didn't turn pretty even after making it to the scenic viewpoint 4 kilometers in. After all, the scenic in the viewpoint was missing, or simply put, just a grey mess. One couldn't see past 10 meters or so on top. Apart from outstanding views, early on you couldn't see much. The fauna made up for it though. Lots of exotic and endemic plants all along the trail, which are gorgeous to look at. It has been a fairly easy hike when not going for the adjacent footpath leading to Areeiro and Pico de Torres, and I imagine this is one of the most accessible hikes while yielding such rewarding views that I no longer doubt why this is a must-do hike, not just because of the Instagram and TikTok bangers, but feeling of standing on top of the world. I swear, by this point, I would have loved to be able to delete Apple's weather app on the iPhone, but being stubborn and sticking to our plan to tick off everything on our list, our very last day brought us to the TikTok dreamland and the fertile grounds of Instagram real madness. Without the influences, however, which was surprising. After all, my hypothesis has been supported given the fact that endeavors on an afternoon plus adverse weather conditions make for empty trails and empty photo spots again and again. Imagine that you would want to see this weirdly beautiful alien-like forest, which could be a love child from the brains of Tim Burton and David Fincher, and you got it almost all to yourself. Are you fucking kidding me? Pinch me. The bad weather forecast for Madeira is a tourist dream. I will tell you that. We were happy inside, but freezing outside. The constant mixture of rain and wind gusts blasting at our face is something I surely didn't miss. It had been subpar and not particularly good circumstances to take breathtaking pictures, yet I'm pretty happy with what I got, because in the end, it's about the stories we could tell when going on adventures and the memories made. Go visit Madeira. Pick the things you like to see and pack light, but don't leave neither a rain jacket nor a fleece at home. Thank you for every single one of you who made it so far. Part of me wishes this kind of travel report makes you crave a new destination, makes you go travel, pick up a nature-related hobby, bring your camera along, or simply enjoy all the pretty things countries, cultures, and nature offer. Bye, and see you in the next one.